It's wonderful to be here with you all, here and now. Timothy Leary, the boogeyman of the psychedelic Renaissance, infamously proclaimed that LSD is the most powerful aphrodisiac ever discovered. Sex under LSD becomes miraculously enhanced and intensified. So, this is a few years after dear old Tim was kicked out of Harvard, and he just couldn't stay out of the spotlight, so he did this Playboy interview and let the sexuality cat out of the bag against the advice of his more cautious contemporaries, such as Aldous Huxley, who knew about these phenomenon, but thought that they would be too controversial to reveal to the general public because it could interfere with their psychotherapeutic research programs, etc. So this is something that's been known in the community, and we were very interested in this topic, but at the same time, we thought that psychedelics might even have a much broader effect on sexuality, more broadly defined, and even other experiences related to gender and intimate relationships. Psychedelic experiences are associated with a wide range of different cognitive and emotional phenomenon. They alter perceptions and mood. They attenuate negative and distorted self-perceptions. They reduce self-referential awareness and weaken priors, like this Bayesian brain idea where we have top-down processing, creating a model of reality based on our previous experiences, and then we have the ground-up sensation and perception that we're experiencing, and these meet in the middle to form our experience of reality. And psychedelic experiences weaken these top-down priors so that new constructs can emerge. Also, ego dissolution or diminished self, the sense, novel self-insights. A lot of self-insights have been reported. Greater interpersonal connectedness. There's a lot of people who are very interested in this as a topic. And union with the environment, and union more broadly with people, with nature, with the universe. And we thought that a lot of these experiences could have a much broader impact than just on the experience of sex itself. So we predicted that psychedelic experiences would lead to more attraction to current partners, enhanced sexual experiences, improved relationship quality, more interest in having multiple intimate partners, and yes, that's John Lennon and Yoko Ono in the middle there, having another bed in, greater sexual fluidity, and even changes related to gender identity and expression. So how did we study this? We have what we call the Psychedelic Community Survey. This is a community-based approach to psychedelic research where we collaborate together as a team. We have a partnership of academic researchers, psychedelic therapists, psychedelic activists, psychedelic enthusiasts, who all work together as a team. And the goals of the project are to document the knowledge and experience of the psychedelic community, to enhance the quality of psychedelic research, and to increase public trust in the results of this research, and also amplify the voice of the psychedelic community in shaping the future of psychedelics. So in a previous survey, we asked, what do you think the priorities should be for psychedelic research? And we're pursuing this research agenda of which this project is a part of. So what did we do? We have an anonymous online Qualtrics survey. The items are designed with input from the team. Some of them are therapists who are working on sexuality and gender issues. We recruited in person at an event in Ann Arbor, Michigan called EntheoFest. It's a psychedelic advocacy event and celebration. Also, psychedelic-related email listservs and newspapers, recruiting online. through social media, through various social media groups, Facebook groups, Reddit forums, Instagram, etc., and the research team's contact network. So we tried to broadly sample because we know that the more we reach out, the better representation we'll have across different psychedelic communities. And of course, this research was reviewed by University of Michigan's IRB before data collection. It was all anonymous, so we didn't collect any identifying information. Here's our participants. You can see we have a pretty good age range. This distribution kind of does reflect the population. There's a smaller interval for the first group, so that's why that's a little smaller than the others, but it's a good wide representative age distribution from 18 years old to 85. As for gender, about half of our participants were women, a little less than half identified as men, and then we had some non-binary, trans, and other gender identity folks as well. For race and ethnicity, it was about 80% white, which is consistent with both online surveys and psychedelic research in general. This is just the population that tends to respond to surveys. But we did have some diversity in there. Although participants did tend to be pretty well educated. So more so than in the general population, people were more likely to have at least a university degree, and many people had advanced degrees. So well-educated population in general. And we recruited through these various means, and the largest group were recruited through emails, sent to them, by some organization or by the researchers, many through social media, about 1 in 8 through the EntheoFest event, and then others through other mechanisms. So what did we find? Well, most people in the survey, about 70%, reported some effect on sexuality or sexual experience. 65% reported short-term effects during the psychedelic experience itself, and a little over half reported long-term effects that lasted beyond the psychedelic experiences. And you can see here, there's a whole range of different types of experiences that people report. There isn't one effect that the majority of people reported. A little over a third did report greater attraction to their partners, enhanced experience of sexual activities, changes in the quality of the romantic or intimate relationships. So a little over a third reported that, but there's no one effect that was reported by everyone. Also people did report greater attraction to non-current partners, also changes in the number of intimate relationships, changes in sexual attraction, and changes related to gender identity or expression. But there were portions of these. So not, again, for some of these, there was a substantial portion of people who reported them, but it wasn't reported by everybody. So let's look at the acute effects. What we can see, we asked these questions in a way where participants could select all that apply. So they could say that they had both enhanced or increased attraction to their partners and also diminished attraction to their partners, because they could also be talking about multiple partners. But what we found was that there were people who did report diminished attraction to current partners, diminished experience of sexual activities, and diminished quality of romantic or intimate relationships, but far more reported enhancements in attraction to current partners, enhancements to experience of sexual activities, and enhancements to the quality of their intimate or romantic relationships. And these are during psychedelic experiences, and you see a similar pattern for long-term effects, and especially so for the quality of romantic or intimate relationships. There's a very high ratio of people who said that the romantic or intimate relationships improved compared to those that were diminished, or the relationship quality decreased. And you see similar patterns for attraction to current partners, attraction to others, and experience of sexual activities, even in the long term. So this is not, this is long after the effects of the psychedelics experience. So We also saw a lot of themes and changes in gender identity or gender expression. So here we'll get a little bit into some of our qualitative results. One of the themes we saw was authenticity and self-acceptance. So for example, psilocybin allowed me to fully accept myself for who I am, which was a very positive experience. As a typical gay man of my age, there's a lot of internal homophobia, at least for those of us who survived AIDS. The first trip made me very aware of the importance of self-acceptance and embracing my real self. I had already identified as non-binary before taking psychedelics, but they helped me come to terms with some of the internal struggles that this identity had caused me. It helped me feel more connected to being me, and that no matter what I was okay. Also, altered experiences of sexuality and gender. This is really fascinating for us. So I am female, yet with psychedelics, I identify as male. This has not changed my sexual orientation, heterosexual. I describe it as waves from feminine to masculine, at times tending heavily masculine. Another participant said, at first, it opened a portal where I felt I was both male and female, but I realized these were sacred energies moving through me and that I occupy both of them always. It was confusing at first, but I understand that we each occupy a physical body gender, but that the sacred masculine and feminine flow through each of us at different calipers. Also, I feel the full power of both genders in waves and moments, masculine and feminine, active and receptive, transcendent of gender, really and free. Openness was a big theme. They have opened me up to exploring. I'm more open-minded. I'm more open and understanding that gender and sexuality are a spectrum. Also, self-expression. I feel more freedom to play with how I express myself through clothing, more fluid and open expressions of love instead of being guarded, work of integration of male aspects into my female body, dealing with and elevating my masculine self out of a guarding aspect. And there was a lot of people who reported rejection of binary conception of gender. It helps me to see that we are all the same and that gender is a man-made construct to segregate within. They didn't impact mine personally, but it did make me profoundly aware that gender identity is fluid, shifting, and that other people's identity is not that important to me. I have been very binary in my way of understanding the genders. Nowadays, I understand that men and women have much more in common when it comes to both psychic and psychological attributes. Also, a rejection of social norms. So I'm less influenced by the customs of this current era and more influenced by my inner natural expressions and the energy of those immediately around me. That societal norms and pressures that do not actually bring me fulfillment and happiness are okay to let go of. There's more to me every time I let go of ideas and notions that are holding me back from personal freedom. And then also understanding gender as a social construct which does not matter to who I am fundamentally. Okay, we also saw changes in sexual attraction. So this was one of the most striking findings for us, that about a quarter of women reported increased same-sex attraction. About 1 in 8 men reported increases in same-sex sexual attraction, and about a third of those who identified as another gender reported changes in sexual attraction. We also saw differences in the types of relationships that people had after their experiences of psychedelics, although in a sense this is not also non-directional. So participants were both significantly more committed to only one partner. There was more participants who were committed to only one partner, as well as people were having plural relationships. So both of these trends happened, and at the same time, fewer people were single. So we found support for all of our hypotheses. Most participants reported, either acute or long-term effects, but there was no single effect that was reported by most participants. So, similar to, many models people have talked about psychedelics as a non-specific amplifier. People are having these psychedelic experiences, and these lead to insights, but these insights could lead them in different directions based on who they are and what their experiences are. So in terms of intimate relationships, many of our participants reported, our relationship quality is so much better, we communicate so much better, I have more empathy for my partner, we understand each other so much better, et cetera, et cetera. But then some other participants said, I realized I was in a toxic relationship and I ended my marriage of 12 years. So non-directional in that sense, if we're not, it's not something where there's a specific path that we put someone on and they follow it, but these insights lead to different outcomes, and again, some of them were adverse, but majority positive. So we did find in general more attraction to partners, enhanced sexual experiences, improved relationship quality, more interest in multiple intimate partners, greater sexual fluidity, and also changes related to gender identity and expression. So this was a very exploratory study, the first of its kind, but we did find some really interesting findings, and now we would like to dive in deeper and explore these in much greater depth. So we have launched our 2025 Psychedelic Community Survey, and we'd like to hear from you. Great, I see everyone taking out their phones. Yeah. Yeah, it's completely anonymous, so we'll take your email just to send you the survey. The survey itself will not take any identifying information, but we're diving in greater depth, and we'll hopefully present the results in a couple of years here. And there's my email address. We have a paper published in the Journal of Sex Research, and I say we because I'm one of many collaborators, including Irene, who's here, both in the room and at Exeter. So, I think I have a few minutes for questions.